Politico has an amazing article that really puts into perspective the disaster that is the Trump presidency. So let's go through it, and then I'll break it down. President Donald Trump is not happy with Secretary of State Rex Tillerson and Gary Cohn, director of the National Economic Council, for publicly criticizing his response to violence in Charlottesville, Virginia. But it appears there is little he is planning to do about it, according to people who have spoken to him. The unusually direct challenges from a cabinet secretary and senior administration official seem to make little more than a surface ripple in the swirling melodrama of the Trump White House, even as the president fumed privately about it. Tillerson, when asked over the weekend whether Trump represented American values with his comments, gave a succinct response, quote, "The president speaks for himself." When asked whether he was separating himself from the president's comments, Tillerson noted that he gave a speech to the State Department denouncing hate. Cohn's comments last week, saying the president could do better, came after several days of weighing whether to leave his position, including writing draft resignation letters. The repudiations by Tillerson and Cohn were not nearly as sharp as some other criticisms of the president, who publicly waffled for days on how to respond to neo-Nazis and white supremacists who marched in the streets of Charlottesville and clashed with opposition protesters. Still, said Rich Lowry, editor of National Review, in the normal course of things, a Secretary of State would be fired an hour after saying such a thing on national TV. The president, whose approval ratings have dropped into the 30% range and who has lost a raft of senior staff members, is loath to get rid of anyone right now, one advisor said. Some close to Trump note that he needs Cohn and Tillerson, seen as stabilizing forces in his administration, more than they need him at this point. But he has stewed, this person said, as the comments from his own staff have dominated the news. Trump has repeatedly said that he doesn't feel that others on his staff and Republicans on Capitol Hill are defending him enough. Quote, he feels like when you back down, people will just keep coming at you, the advisor said. Even if he knew he was wrong, I don't think he'd back down. Longtime observers of Trump say he makes it difficult for others to defend him. He often makes incendiary comments only to ratchet up the rhetoric after coming under criticism. Advisors and aides are then in an untenable position, having to decide whether to agree with him and face the backlash, or to artfully distance themselves, dodge, or deny. Okay, so there's a lot to say about this. First of all, Donald Trump, it really does act like a little boy. So somebody says something that doesn't back him up, and to him it's like the worst thing in the world. He goes nuts, and he's not. People aren't defending me enough. And then, the idea of, if you back down, people will keep coming at you. And then they say, even if he knew he was wrong, he doesn't want to back down. Well, that's like a fucking stubborn child. I don't know any other way to perceive that. That's what that is. An adult goes, you know what? I was incorrect about that. But no, he's like, defend it. And then he drags everybody else down with him because he's like, well, if you're in my administration, you have to defend it. Defend the fact that I did a false equivalence between neo-Nazis and KKK members and overwhelmingly peaceful left-wingers. Even people in his own administration are like, come on, man, that's crazy. He's like, do it. And so when Tillerson and Cohn were like, no, he could have done better. And Tillerson's comments were even wilder because he was stoic when he said it. Like, does the president represent American values? The president represents himself. Damn, son. So Trump's like, why won't you defend me? You gotta defend me. So Trump is this, it's like a young kid or like a cliquey high schooler who's like, you ride or die. You're either with me or you're against me. You're either on my team or you're not on my team, bro. You gonna defend me or not? Oh, you're not gonna defend me, huh? So you're not gonna defend me. I started a random fight with a guy in a bar and you're not gonna jump in and punch the guy in the face for me, huh? That's what it's gonna do? Dude, you're an adult. You're the fucking president of the United States. And they act like these fights are like Real Housewives of DC. Like, that's what it feels like every time you read this stuff. Now, but here's the other aspect to this story that's incredible. Notice what just happened. I just had to give commentary on a story where I unequivocally side with the CEO of ExxonMobil and a Goldman Sachs lackey. And that is the conundrum of the Trump presidency. And this is actually why the establishment secretly loves the Trump presidency. Because Trump sets up a dynamic where anything and anybody but Trump is viewed as reasonable and the adults in the room. Here's the problem. That's not true. So you get people who are incredible neocons and hawks who want to do intervention everywhere, who appear like adults because Trump is such a fucking baby that you go, oh, we need the CEO of ExxonMobil who has a massive financial conflict of interest the world over to make decisions on foreign policy. Trump said repeatedly, we should take the oil from Iraq, which is a giant war crime, stealing natural resources from a sovereign nation. And then he picked ExxonMobil CEO to be his Secretary of State. And now Trump is so bad that people are going, man, I really hope the CEO of ExxonMobil is making the foreign policy decisions and not Trump. Well, that's a win-win for the establishment now, isn't it? Because then you get everybody to go, that CEO of ExxonMobil sure is reasonable. No, he's a fucking corrupt asshole who has the biggest conflict of interest in human history. Gary Cohn. Gary Cohn is a Goldman Sachs lackey. I mean, this is a guy who's rigged policy in favor of Wall Street and wanted to do that forever. I mean, go read the tax plan that he wrote and he released, him and Mnuchin, another guy from Goldman Sachs, by the way. They were the ones who announced Trump's first round of tax proposals. It's all shit that benefits the rich. That's all it is. It biases the rules in favor of Wall Street and multinational corporations and lets them run out the back door with all the money while they shift the tax burden onto the middle class. So, but again, Trump is so bad in situations like this that everybody, you just heard me, I just did commentary where I'm like, man, isn't the Goldman Sachs lackey correct? So that's a win-win for the establishment because you get everybody to agree, man, I hope the ExxonMobil guy and the Goldman Sachs guy are the ones really making the decisions and not Donald Trump. So this is an empire in decline. That's what this is. There's no other way to look at it. You have a petty man-child who's obsessed with personal bickering, he's a real housewife of DC. You have that guy, and then you have the captains of industry, the CEOs, the titans, the Goldman Sachs people, the ExxonMobil people, who all reasonable people are now like, gee, I hope they're making the decisions and not Trump because Trump's a baby. And they're adults. They may be corrupt adults who will do everything to fuck over the middle class, but hey, at least they're adults. So oh my God, this is terrible, man. This is the best case scenario for the establishment, worst case scenario for the people. And, it's almost like we're watching a bad movie. We're watching a D-list movie, but it's real life.